Hello, and welcome to the All Things Narrative Podcast, where we explore the relationships between the stories we love and the stories we live. I'm your host, Derrick Hatch, and let's get started. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the All Things Narrative Podcast. We got the duel of the decade for you, the showdown of the century, as we got Joseph, the King of All Saints, Joe Lee Stark Wilson, who is going to be defending his favorite movie of all time from, of course, the one and only Nick Natal, a.k.a. the Contrarian, who is going to come along and tear down Leonardo DiCaprio's performance as the most overrated actor of our time.
Derrick, I'm only coming for you, Derrick.
You guys are not ready for this episode. Welcome to Why We Love Westerns.
And Jason's here.
Yeah, sir.
Oh, man.
I'll find a way to agitate.
That's right.
Against each other.
So I wish you all could see this right now because we got Jason in full-on Western garb with the white hat sitting across the table from Joseph in the black hat. That's
the system right there.
This is the Mexican standoff right here.
Right?
That's that system right there, boy.
Yeah. We got pistols ready, aged drum. It's going to be a good time, y'all. So thank you for joining us for the All Things Narrative Podcast as we continue this exploration of different genres and what they mean for our lives. And so I'd love to know before we get started, did you guys grow up watching a lot of Westerns?
My dad is a huge fan of Westerns.
Same here.
Yeah, so
Same
Tombstone was like the first movie that I was introduced to.
Okay.
Django, what we'll talk about later, that's one of our favorite movies together.
Yeah.
So yeah, good amount of Westerns. Rango.
Yeah, no, same here. We, my dad, we grew up with pictures of Clint Eastwood and John Wayne and all these people on the walls of our house. All my knowledge of Westerns comes from him. So what about you guys, Jason, Nick? Did you guys grow up?
Did you guys grow up?
No, it's still in process. No, did not grow up with Westerns. I've seen a few in school and when we studied it, but not in my childhood at all.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I grew up watching my dad watch Westerns, but I didn't really have an intention to watch them because I just thought, it's old man thing, whatever, I don't care. They're all the same. They all look the same. Rawhide, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. Okay, whatever. They're men who just squint all the time.
I do think from the outside looking in, a lot of them do look the same, right? They have got a very similar aesthetic there. But I guess today what will be interesting is that we've each chosen a different Western. And I got to say, each of these films has a very different flavor. So I'm very excited to kind of explore how this genre, which is a lot more narrow than some of the other genres we've talked about, how there can be diversity in the storytelling of it. So let's go ahead and get started. So as always, I'm going to give a definition of the Western that I came up with, and then we'll kind of launch from there, talk a little bit about the history of it, and go into these different films that we all chose. So, the Western story is a gritty depiction of order taming chaos. These tales are about rugged individuals who must act on their own codes of honor and justice in a lawless society. The lines of morality are usually drawn by a good character, a sheriff, gunslinger, or bounty hunter who seeks to bring order at all costs, even through vengeance. There's also a morally gray character who straddles the lines between good and bad, and a bad character, the outlaw, cowboy, foreigner, who corrupts society and is not above killing women and children. The protagonist becomes slowly peeled away from his sense of security as his duty to society overtakes his personal life. These stories tend to culminate in a climactic duel between the forces of order and chaos, of good and evil. The Western is the only genre whose origins are tied to a particular moment in history, the 19th century expansion of America into the new frontier. As a result, many Westerns incorporate elements of history into their narratives, whether it be settlers navigating the emergence of new towns, tension with Native Americans, or utilizing the backdrops of the Civil War Reconstruction periods. Westerns challenge us to ask ourselves, how far am I willing to go to tame the chaos around me? All right, any thoughts on that definition?
The last part, how far am I willing to go to tame the chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll see in a lot of these Westerns is how far are these characters willing to go? And we'll see that in different ways. So, any other thoughts?
I thought vengeance was a very strong theme in the ones that I saw.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is, I think for every character that was used to designate what is good, it's almost still like a gray area. Like even Clint Eastwood isn't good. Like he's selling the same guy into, for his bounty and then shooting him down off the rope over and over again. Like he's
it's good in quotes, right? Because I think one of the interesting things about the Western is that if you contrast it to what you might call maybe the more civilized East Coast at the time, the West is just trying to figure it out. They're trying to draw the lines and figure out. Even it's amazing that it's the same country. When I watch a lot of these Westerns, I'm like, I cannot believe that like this exists alongside the other parts of America that we know of, right?
To be honest, it kind of reminds me of like in Star Wars, like the Outer Rim worlds, like how the Republic couldn't get certain worlds.
Yes.
So like the Republic is that civilized area, but the Outer Rim, that's mostly where like Han Solo are at, like
Greedo.
exactly. It's
like
the
Mos
West.
Eisley, and that's
Pod
very
racing.
Western.
Pod racing.
Absolutely.
Pod racing.
There goes the old pod race.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, no, it really does have a life of its own, like in these places.
Yeah,
you see a lot of Western elements that seep into other genres that will get utilized, right? I mean, even the Lego Movie has like a Western section in it. Yeah, so it's definitely a very important part of American history and American filmmaking. In fact, and I just learned this recently, the Western is one of the oldest genres of film, predating the 20th century.
really.
Yes, in film. So like in the in the 1890s, as the medium of film was being established, a lot of those first attempts at film were Westerns.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Do you have the first couple? The Great Train Robbery is the first one.
The train. Well, I've actually heard that there are some that came even before the Great Train Robbery, but that's like the first, maybe like official, right? That we could say there. Yeah, there's all kinds of really short little films that people were making, and Westerns is what people went to. And it's interesting because if you look at like the timeline of when a lot of Westerns take place, like the 1890s is usually kind of like the end. Like that's considered like a late Western, but it's like ironically film is like picking that up right around that time. And it remains like a really popular genre all throughout like the silent era of films. But then once films start to get sound, they're kind of like buried for a while. And it's not until John Ford partnered up with John Wayne, and there were other directors and actors as well. But when they made Stagecoach, that's really when Westerns took off again. And it led to what's called the golden age of the Western in the 1940s and 50s. By the time you get to the 50s, and this is these are American-made films, by the way. That's important to distinguish for what I'm going to say in a moment. Because in the 1950s, America made more Westerns than every other film genre combined. That's how popular they were.
The Western was,
In America.
Yeah.
This is America. I think somebody in one of the movies said that. Dang, I was.
Did they?
I think in Dead Man, because I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's funny. I think I put that down.
This is America.
Or somebody said this.
Did you see Doc Ock and Dead Man?
Yep, I put that down too.
Oh, wait, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, I'm watching it then.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Sandman's in Tombstone.
I'm still
Yep.
I'm still thinking about the definition of the Western. And and just Dead Man is so different. I'm trying to figure out where all these characters fit, and it's like
we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get to Dead Man.
That boy old.
Something interesting happens in the 1960s. So the Western kind of starts to go a little bit on the decline in American films, but over in Italy, they're booming. And there's a director that we're going to talk about here called Sergio Leone. And he, through his famous Dollars trilogy, really crafts what we now know as the spaghetti Western. So these Westerns are American stories, but told through Italians. There's a different perspective spaghetti that you get there, right?
Western.
The spaghetti Western.
That's funny.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, why do they call them spaghetti Westerns? Because they're Italian.
They got the Italian. Yeah.
Very important for the crime and the Western genre that we have Nick here.
Yeah, exactly. The Italians are important to the movie genre.
Yeah.
When it comes to crime.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and spaghetti.
This is a perfect follow-up from those analysis that we did of No Country for Old Men, right? This just flows right on in. Now, we're going to have a guy who's going to come on here and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, but he wasn't able to make it today. But I know, Jason, you watched it, right?
Rip Dave.
So
yeah.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is the third and final film of this Dollar trilogy, and it's where what we now know as the spaghetti Western is perfected. So you just watched it for the first time. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh, should I have watched that one? Should I have watched the first one first? Because I was told that this was a good one to watch.
They're basically three different stories that don't connect, like in terms of like they don't all take place in like the same universe, because it's all Clint Eastwood for all three of them.
Is he the same character?
No.
Oh, he's not.
But it's like thematically, they all tell a certain kind of story thematically. They relate together.
So not the same character, but thematically they're the same. So we call it a trilogy.
Mm-hmm. It's a loose trilogy, yes.
A multiverse trilogy.
Odd, but I'll take it.
A multiversal trilogy.
So what was your... Yeah, shut up. What was your question?
So Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So what were your thoughts on that?
I'm trying to remember exactly how it started. I think it was with Angel Eyes and... No, Tuco was the first person introduced. And when I look back at... the other movies, it's almost like I can see this good, bad, ugly theme in terms of characters with all of them.
Yes,
like it's in,
absolutely.
It's in Once Upon a Time in the Old West, in the West, and it's in. I guess you could kind of say
it's in Tombstone. Yeah,
it's in Tombstone. It's even in No Country for Old Men.
Yes, exactly.
It is.
It is between. Yep.
Llewellyn's ugly. Not really, but. Yeah. So immediately it was super fun.
Yeah.
Three guys go into the saloon and there's just all these gunshots and this one crazy looking dude bursts out the window and they're all dead. And he immediately gets into trouble. But one thing that I realized in that and the others is that they immediately tell you who's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they established the line, right? Because it's different for every film. Yeah. So like Clint Eastwood's a good example of that, where if you watch Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood is the good guy. But then once you realize all the things he's done, you're like, is he really a good guy?
Yeah.
But compared to
what everyone else is.
Yeah. What's the main bad guy's name in Unforgiven?
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman's character.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Don't spoil that
compared
movie,
to him, Clint Eastwood is a saint. But at the same time, there's a lot of moral ambiguity as well, because Gene Hackman is like, he's like a authority figure, but he's the bad guy. So Unforgiven like flips a lot of that stuff on its head. But but you see that trope of the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Yeah. That's there. The good, the usually the bad. What separates the bad and the ugly is, are you willing to kill women and children?
Well,
that's a
Tuco
big thing.
was. That's true. I don't think he ever did kill women and children, but he was like accused for like a giant list of crimes,
right?
And, like rape too. Like he was, he deserved to die.
Yeah.
In terms of he was not good. When I looked at the bad and the ugly, and it especially tells you in the standoff and the way that they're looking.
Yeah.
And I saw this one video that was really cool, bring it into focus, called The Power of the Gaze, someone's video essay on YouTube. And it was on Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
But when you look at them, Clint Eastwood is the most focused.
Yeah.
And then Angel Eyes, the bad character, who you look at him and you go, just by his complexion, that guy's bad. Yeah. His face is all sharp looking and like mean and super dark hair. he's like next after him, and then the ugly Tuco is just like wily,
right?
Unfocused, not going anywhere specific.
Cheyenne.
Yeah, Cheyenne. Exactly. He's just going. He's doing. He'll kill. He'll shoot. He'll do whatever he wants. He has no patience.
Right.
He probably only knows how to kill and steal because this guy is about to die, and he's like, water. Yeah. And he needs to hear where the treasure is from him. He's not getting water. He's just like slapping him, like, come on, hurry up. You get water afterwards. Yeah. Now tell me, where is it? But he just jumps on it. Super impulsive, but he's not incompetent. Yeah. Like, he gets the drop on Clint Eastwood twice, at least. Like, he's really, like, good. Yeah. Like, he's skilled. But that's all he knows how to do. Right. Just aimless. I think aimlessness. Yeah. Like, the bad has a goal. A very strong purpose. So does the good. And then the ugly is just aimlessness, actual chaos. Right. Yeah, you become the embodiment of that chaos. It'd be like neutral good or chaotic good would be the good. The good. Now, what I think is so interesting is like Sergio Leone makes the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he's like, "All right, I've perfected the Western. I'm done." And then he comes back a few years later, and he's like, "Oh, I made another Western." And this Western, so this is my pick here, and so this is what we're going to talk about to start, is Once Upon a Time in the West, which completely flips what he established as the perfect Western, and he pushes it forward in a lot of ways. So when I've talked about before that I feel like Tarantino is a bit overrated because he takes from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Boy, when you watch this film, you see all of Tarantino's... What he took, okay. Well, Tarantino even has admitted that this is the most influential film as a filmmaker, right? I don't think I've seen enough of Tarantino's stuff. Well, I've seen a few, but I'd have to know specifically what you mean. Well, you've got this opening scene here, and it's very quiet. It's very slow.
Oh, it's so good though. You didn't like it? It was so good.
I showed my family, and I was just having a fun time watching them get annoyed.
When he starts drinking the water from his hat, I was like, I love this movie.
Yeah. Or The Fly, when he just like trying to blow it off his face, and he captures it and listens to it.
This movie is nearly 3 hours long. It is not in a hurry to tell its story, and that's one of the things I love about it. You've got these guys that you assume. You're like, okay, are these our main characters? No, okay, maybe they're our antagonists, right? And so they're sitting there waiting. And I love, so there's Sergio Leone. He called this movie A Dance with Death. So like he talks about how these three guys, when they are left to their own devices and they have nothing to do, you have the guy with the fly, for example, right? Where he's trying to trap the fly in his pistol while he's waiting. Like these guys literally left to themselves will just find ways to bring chaos, right? So they're waiting. There's no music. There's hardly any sound. It's just quiet. And then the train rolls by, which we'll get to in a moment. Trains are very important in this film. And who is standing there?
Captain America.
Our real main... Yes! And I have to just give a shout out that Ennio Morricone did the score for Good, Bad, the Ugly and for Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, they're amazing.
I've told Nick, and I think I stand by it. I think he's my favorite film composer of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When that first bit of music comes in with the harmonica, because we'll get into all the characters have different instruments that represent them with their themes. Mm-hmm. But you have harmonica come in, right? And then in just a moment, boom, kills all three of those characters. And you're just like, what on earth is this movie? Like, we spent like 10 minutes watching these guys just to watch them get slaughtered, like in a second. Mm-hmm. Oh, and he gets shot too. Mm-hmm. So that also communicates nobody's safe in this film, right? But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this. So Nick, Jason, you guys, this was your first time seeing it, right? What were some thoughts that you had about this film?
We're in a standoff right now. Literally. All right, I'll go first. I shot Nick. I think I didn't do this film a lot of justice because I was watching it and then also doing some things in the downtime. But time was a really big part of this. I liked the beginning the most because I just thought, trains don't just come when you want them. They don't just roll by. Oh, got here just in time. You have to wait. Like the guy is very slowly scrawling ye old chalk on the board that it's going to be there in 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, the train is the looming shadow in the film because Once Upon a Time in the West, the title is super appropriate because it's about the death of the West as it was and about a new kind of West that was being birthed at the time.
Yeah. And they grew with the expansion of the... Sorry.
Exactly.
You were just about to say that.
Go ahead.
They grew with the expansion of the train, and that's the whole movie, is that they have to get the station built before the rails get there.
Right. So you have the train, the railroad, right, that's being built across America, and that's going to destroy the Western as we know. It's a very meta movie in a lot of ways because the train, like, is this looming shadow that is putting an end to the West as it was. And so you have Harmonica, this guy who...
Is that his name in the movie? Harmonica?
Yeah, that's what he's called.
That's what
we never know his real name.
Yeah, one of the characters just calls him that because he plays the harmonica.
Yeah.
So his theme music.
Okay. Yeah, so he comes out and he plays the harmonica, right? And he represents like what we know of as the Western protagonist, but he's very mysterious at the same time. And so, but he is our morally good, even though he does a lot of things that aren't morally good. But then you've got him established. And then you've got, you spend some time, again, another Tarantino trick. You spend some time here with a family. You have a father and these kids. And you're just spending time hanging out with them.
They died, huh?
And then a guy comes and kills them all.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Just completely, yeah.
Well, that's the bad.
So Frank is our antagonist,
he
right?
Kills kids.
He is that line, exactly. Yeah. He's the one who is willing to cross that. And the crazy thing, so Frank is played by Henry Fonda. And I was telling Nick that like Henry Fonda never played villains. It would be the equivalent of Tom Hanks playing a serial killer. So
I kind of want to see
it was really shocking for people to see Henry Fonda shoot a kid in the first scene. Oh, he's fantastic.
Not good, but like he was great at being
his performance. Oh my gosh, he's fantastic, right? He's one of the highlights of the film for sure. He's so charismatic. And then we have Cheyenne who gets introduced, he's introduced as this guy who's he's handcuffed, right? Because we realize that it's a breakout. He's getting sent into prison, and he killed all these guys. And he goes into the bar and he has that confrontation with Cheyenne, with Harmonica. But it's interesting because Harmonica he's trying to read him. Harmonica's trying to read him, and it's a really like slow scene of just characters trying to see, okay, who are you? Are you a threat? Are you bad? And Harmonica eventually decides not to mess with him. And same with Cheyenne, right? But Cheyenne's also one of the best characters of the film.
He talks when he ought to play. Or no, he said he plays when he ought to talk. And when he should keep playing, he talks.
Yeah.
It's the character.
This movie is, I think, one of the best examples of show versus tell.
Yeah.
There is so much that is not said through dialogue that is just like... utilizing, I'd love to get your perspective on this, Nick, but like, how does this film like really utilize the medium of film to its fullest potential?
I think for me, the opening sequence is one of the best parts of the film. The way that these characters are presented, like the guy has the water dripping on his hat and he just moves to the left. Or he puts his hat, it's dripping on his forehead.
He puts it on.
And then he puts the hat on.
So he can drink
it starts dripping on the hat, and then he starts drinking it. The guy with the fly, he traps the fly in the barrel of the gun because it's bothering him. And then he holds it and he puts it to his ear, and he's just like playing with this fly.
His eyes are just kind of like a little buggish, and the one's to the right. He's just like a weird looking dude.
The opening is basically 10 minutes of silence until the main character comes, and then there's a shoot off, and then. But I think characters allowed to develop in silence.
Yes.
And that's a good way of showing and not telling.
Well,
and then it's also, there's a sense of humor in this film. Like you're going to have a lot of fun in this opening.
It is really funny.
So I think that's cool. I think just like flash forward a little bit, when he kills the family and then there's that gunshot cut to the train.
Yes.
I think I was thinking on the way here, that's one of the greatest shots that I've ever seen. I was thinking of 2001, and then I was thinking of Psycho with the eye and the drain. And then that one was unbelievable. And more symbolically, it's like the gun is giving way to the train, like this next generation of machines.
Yeah.
But that was just like such a striking.
It's so many good cuts in this
The
film.
movie's beautiful. Like,
I mean, the sets, because they built real towns for this. It's not a studio.
I heard that.
but-
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you're good. The sets alone for the town cost more than the entire budget of The Good, the Bad,
That's
right?
exactly
You
what I was
heard
gonna
that
say,
too?
yeah.
Oh wow.
and then you have the music. The
Yes.
music is showing you way more than anything
So
on screen.
So when I was watching it with you, Nick, one of the things I pointed out was that the music, Morricone's music, was written as the script was written. So most of the time, music is written after the film is shot. They actually wrote the music before they filmed anything, and they played the music while they were filming it.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
Because-
like a ballet. They're moving to the music.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
cool.
So like every character, so Harmonica's got a harmonica theme. Frank has like this electric guitar theme. Cheyenne has the pluck strings, right? That's yep. And then Jill, which we need to talk about Jill now. So Jill has the opera theme, right? The operatic theme.
Oh, like when
the-
she walks out of the train and is like,
So one of my favorite moments in the film that really utilizes that show versus tell. So Jill is waiting at the train station for her
Yeah.
husband, doesn't show up, but she's a very active protagonist. So she goes, right, and tries to get to the house herself. So then she gets there and all these people are mourning and she realizes what's happened, doesn't say anything, then goes into the house and she's like, walking through this empty house, caressing her bed, the bed that she'll never get to be with in her husband. Like, it's really moving, like emotionally, as she just, there's no words spoken. It's just the opera music. And it's just her moving and realizing that she has this thing she's inherited, but she doesn't get to enjoy it with anyone. She's alone. And she comes from being a whore, pardon the language there, out in New Orleans, right?
We like
And
to call them
so-
Jezebels, Derek.
The Jezebels. Yeah, that's right. The
Next genre,
Jezebels.
anyways, the horror movies.
The horror movies.
Oh my gosh.
I can't with you.
But she comes to the West
Sorry.
seeking, a different kind of life. She wants to settle down and get married. And then she gives that speech to Cheyenne when Cheyenne comes in, right? Because Cheyenne is framed for killing her family, right? And she talks about never getting to have this. And it's just, I don't know. I just really feel it. Her character is, especially the second time I watched it, her character, there's so much going on there about how she's like this woman that's pushing forward, especially where she ends up at the end of the film, where she ends up running this town basically.
It's crazy.
But she also uses like the darker sides of her past, because the whole plan of how Frank gets taken down is so like huge. There's so many moving parts that make it happen, right? And so there's a lot in this movie. There's just a lot going on. It's an epic. It's an epic.
Yeah.
The film really is saying something about the West and that the West is dying. So you have like this guy, Mr. Morton, who they call Mr. Choo Choo, right?
Man, he
So-
was
Mr. Choo
he was interesting.
Yeah. So what was interesting about him, Jason?
So Mr. Morton is this. I don't know if he's a business tycoon or just a
Yeah.
railroad tycoon, but he's basically crippled.
He's
has
got
a neck brace, he has
tuberculosis.
tuberculosis in his bones. He has to walk on crutches everywhere. He can't turn his head. He's just super weak, and he has this yearning for seeing the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because there's no way he'd get there ever unless he builds this
He builds
railroad.
it. Yeah.
And he's the one behind the McBains being murdered, which is
Yes.
the family.
Yeah. Frank is basically his hand of violence, right? Because he has no power, which
Yeah.
is very interesting because like the metaphor of, or the symbolism of like, he's confined to this train. It's almost like his prison cell.
Yeah.
He can't leave it, right?
Those
So
are his legs.
Yeah, exactly. They're his legs, and Frank is the one who has to. He's the only one who has power on his behalf. But then, of course, we realize that
Yeah.
Mr. Morton has all the power.
Mr. Morton has way more power. And he would, and Frank would have been dead if not for harmonica.
Yeah,
Like,
which
he
is
would've
crazy.
died.
So we realized the power struggle between them, and he's got the money, and he pays off all those guys.
And he says it in the movie. He says that
This is the most.
Yeah, this is
When
more
Frank's
powerful
gonna
than
kill
that.
him in the early scene, right? Then he's like, "There's only one thing that can stop that kind of weapon, and it's this kind of weapon."
And then
he pulls out the dollar bills.
And Frank sits in the chair and he goes, "How does it feel sitting in that chair, Frank?" And he goes, "Like holding a gun, except much more powerful."
Yeah.
And that's and that later that's foreshadowing to that event happening. And Morton dies, and he dies next to a puddle of mud.
muddy puddle.
Like he's staring at this painting of a ship on the seas, and he's just staring at the water being painted, and he's hearing it in his mind. And he dies next to just a muddy puddle of water. Still hearing it.
Yeah.
It just bleeds out next to it, like crawling on the ground. And he didn't actually want people to get murdered.
Right.
He sent Frank out to scare him off, and Frank's like, people
They
scare
took
better
it
when
too
they're
far.
dying. And
People scared better when they die.
it was interesting, but he still, for his ambition, he was willing to buy out, to scare, to use, dirty tactics.
So I think the last thing I want to mention is that toward when you get to the end of the film, there's a lot of meta conversation going on. So you have Cheyenne, who goes back to see Jill one last time, and we don't know what's wrong with him, right? He masks it so well. But
I did not.
there's a lot of conversation there where Cheyenne is basically talking about like the old ways dying, and a guy like Harmonica isn't gonna stick around. Like I'm like, you're literally. It's Leone talking to the audience about the Western, because I think Leone believed that this is going to be the movie that, I don't want to say annihilates the Western as we know it, but like the Western, and it is true. After this movie, the Western is never the same again. This is the tipping point where the genre, even if you look after this movie's made, this is where the genre starts to like become parodied with things like Blazing Saddles, right?
Oh, man.
Like this is like the peak of the Western. And even when you get to its revival, which we'll get to shortly in the 90s, when it gets its revival, it's still drawing upon a lot of these ideas in Once Upon a Time in the West, right? I got to talk about the moment that Frank and Harmonica finally show down.
Oh, but Joe hasn't seen it though.
I know.
I want to say, address Frank and Harmonica actually talk about it.
Yeah, they do have. You're right. They have a whole conversation about that.
Yeah, he goes, he was right. I could never be like him. He's a businessman, and I'm just a man. And I can't remember if it was Frank or Harmonica who says it, but he goes, a dying race.
Breed.
Yes,
Breed.
that's it right there. That's the whole
They'll
movie.
be gone. They'll be replaced.
They're a dying breed.
That man. So, but what about man as a dying breed? Just their usefulness or their character? The machines are taking over.
I think
Business is taking over.
Because this leads straight into Dead Man. So let's do Dead Man after this one.
Okay. That I think the usefulness is a good point there, right? Because Harmonica, how does Harmonica find meaning? Well, Frank's a really bad guy who's done him wrong personally, but he's also, because here's the thing, Harmonica, every time Frank asks, "Who are you?" he lists the name of people Frank has killed. Yeah. So Harmonica sees like his sense of purpose is like, this is a bad guy who's hurt a lot of people. I'm going to take him down, right? Frank's whole purpose, he's this guy who uses the gun to get what he wants, and he's playing within the system of the railroad emerging.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I actually do want to watch this movie. Don't say specifically what happened.
With Dead Man?
No.
Between Frank and
I think we got to though.
Do we have to? When this scene hits, you go, oh my God.
It is one of my favorite reveals I've ever seen in a film where you're wondering, why is Harmonica doing this? Like, why is he so, because he's so mysterious. But then, of course, we get the flashback at the perfect moment where they're about to face off in the duel.
Yeah.
And the slow pan back where you reveal what on earth Frank did to Harmonica. And you are like, damn, that is how you use. That's how you do a movie.
What do you do?
So,
what do you do?
Do you really?
I'm not going to
know?
say it. I'm not going to say it. We're not going to say it.
Just watch it.
Just the reveal of it, right? And what the harmonica means.
The harmonica, I was just saying, the harmonica is part of his revenge, and at the end, harmonica gives it back to Frank. It's not spoiling exactly what happens, but either way.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we have to talk about that because the way it ends is the song dies too.
Yes.
Because he puts
versus Frank, right?
Well, their themes literally collide in the duel, right? Like harmonica and Frank's themes musically collide together, and then the music for both of them shuts down because harmonica in that moment loses his purpose. So to go back to what you were saying, Nick, he's done. So Cheyenne and harmonica have that final speech at the end of the movie, and Cheyenne's like, I got nothing left. Harmonica has no future, right? The Western is an interesting time in history because people built their sense of identity and purpose on this kind of wayward battle of order versus chaos. But once the order comes in, it's like the law is officially established there. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore. They're that dying breed. Yeah.
Especially when you look at Dead Man.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and transition to Dead Man, because when we get to the early 90s, we get a revival of the Western. So it started with Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's swan song of the Western. He directed it, starred on it. Logan is like, one of my favorite films of all time. Yeah. And watching Unforgiven helped me understand Logan even more.
I'm really excited.
It's really good.
I love Logan.
Really good,
Logan
yeah.
is so
and Dances with Wolves is another really popular film that takes root in the early 90s. That kind of brings back the Western. And that leads to Tombstone.
Too long for Nick.
4 hours.
I really...
Yeah.
Yes. Take that back.
It's like the Snyder cut.
Nick says I top out at 3.5.
But there's two key films we're going to talk about in that revival, and that's Tombstone, which we'll get to in a moment, and Dead Man. So Nick, I think you got some thoughts brewing there.
I picked Dead Man solely because it was weird and off the track and quirky, and I just thought it was something different for the conversation.
Absolutely.
But after hearing about Once Upon a Time in the West and watching that movie, this is really like a unique film to pair with that.
Yeah.
So the movie is like a reverse Western.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
So the Western, traditionally, you have these beautiful landscapes. You have it's like the beauty of the West mixed with like all of the harsh violence. And, But in Dead Man, it's ugly.
Everything is wild.
It's black and white. It's ugly. The train scene in the opening is like the whole theme of the movie. So
yes,
Johnny Depp gets on the train and it starts off really beautiful.
Yeah,
and then he's just riding this train for.
And even how he's
5 minutes.
dressed, he's standing out from everyone else, right?
And then like you see glimpses of the outside, and it slowly turns worse and worse and worse.
Yeah,
and the people on the train slowly get worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
So it's like this digression of where we're coming, and the last stop is a town called Machine, and the guy's like like last stop like is hell. I think he says is hell. So basically you're going backwards from this beautiful Western society to now like exactly what's happening Once Upon a Time in the West. Machines are taking over and it's just terribly ugly, and so there's not a lot of like traditional beauty in this film, but the way the movie's told is a visual language that I really like. So Once Upon a Time in the West has like these 3 song motifs that kind of converge, and this one has just like one guitar riff the whole movie, and it's like a trance. It's like a literal, like you kind of just get lost in it. So but the title, so I didn't really ever think about this now, and I don't know if this is right, but the title's called Dead Man, and I'm starting to think that Johnny Depp's character is just an avatar for
whoever.
No, for basically guys like Harmonica and Cheyenne. He is not really an actual character. He's just getting dragged along by this Indian called Nobody.
Yeah.
So
he's getting dragged along by nobody.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too. So traditionally in the Western, the Indians are savages. They're the enemy. They're the chaos.
Right.
And the cowboys are coming to create that order. In Dead Man, the cowboys are
The lawless one.
the enemy, and nobody is an Indian. He just says the white man is the enemy over and over and over again.
Stupid as a white man.
So
Joe really liked this movie.
It was funny.
it was really funny. It is funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
And so he is the good character, the Indian, who traditionally is the bad character in the Western.
He was my favorite character in the film.
And he's bringing along Johnny Depp on this metaphysical journey of like literally cleansing his soul. But I think he's cleansing the soul, in Jim Jarmusch's mind, he's cleansing the soul of all the Western men that have come before him. And they are all on this journey on this boat to the middle of the ocean by himself.
Literally in his little flower hat.
It's ridiculous. The first time I watched it, I'm like, I have no idea what's happening.
Same here. But I was like, what is this movie?
So the Rotten Tomatoes reviews are like, the critics are low, but the audience is high because they're saying the more you watch this movie, the more time you get into it, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
But even so the black hat in the movie is this crazy outlaw guy who's just nasty. He's actually a cannibal. It's crazy.
He killed his parents, and not only just did that to his parents.
They just jacked it all the way up for this one.
So
10.
So Johnny Depp gets framed for murder, and he's on the run, and nobody comes along, and he's like his guy, the Indian guy.
Yeah.
And then the guy that Johnny Depp was framed for murder, his father is the owner of Machine. Like, he runs everything, and he sends out these 3 outlaws to go get Johnny Depp. So Johnny Depp's in the woods getting cleansed. All of the Western mythology is just getting cleansed along with him.
Because he's when he's out there, he's just going around and he's killing all these kind of outlaw like people. So he's cleansing the Western in a weird
not
sense.
Not even outlaws. He killed like some sheriffs at one time. So it's literally that Western. He's killing the Western. Yeah.
And
the law of the Western.
Well, I mean, the whole setup even of how we get there is interesting too, because there's this girl and that.
I was like, oh no! I was like, no!
That whole situation there.
Oh man.
Yeah, because it's a whole.
You'll like the movie, Jason.
Yeah,
it's good.
I'm intrigued.
It's weird. It is so weird. You just put it on late at night. Visual language. You want to talk about show don't tell? Like, he's not saying anything, and you're just getting sucked into this like weird space in
the acid Western.
Yeah, and it's just weird. You're like in another dimension, and you're just along for the ride.
And do you think there's anything significant about what was his name?
William Blake.
William Blake, the poet, right?
Yeah.
And they actually mentioned that in the film, because that was my first reaction, was like, oh, the poet? And then later they acknowledge that, and they say he's the spiritual reincarnation. He's the spirit of William Blake.
Johnny Depp's whole movie's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, shut up, William Blake.
I didn't write any poems.
He's just asking him for tobacco the whole movie. He's like, I don't smoke.
That's my favorite bit.
I thought he was going to smoke at the end when he kept saying, "Oh, I don't smoke. I don't have tobacco." You sure you don't have any tobacco? I'll trade you some tobacco.
So it's a funny movie.
It's a comedy.
It's very dry, funny movie.
Yeah. It is a comedy.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
it's a comedy.
Man, this is good.
And so then when you're reading the definition of Western, there's a showdown between good and evil.
Right.
So that happens as Johnny Depp is getting getting put in a boat. This is crazy. If you guys haven't seen this movie,
the last
just
10
try to
minutes
follow
of
along.
this movie is nuts.
I was just like, what?
He's about to die.
This?
Like, he's just so out of it. He's got face paint. He starts the movie in this plaid, really nice clothes, and he's dressed in like this whole Indian headdress with face paint, and like put in a boat in like this ritual to go off into the next world.
Sounds very Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as he's getting pushed off, the showdown between good and evil is between nobody and the one of the outlaws.
Yeah.
And
So he's not even in it.
no. So Johnny Depp is not. I'm convinced Johnny Depp is a complete avatar. He is a representation of something. And as we're talking, I think he's a representation of all of the Western mythology and all of what happens to them after. At the end of the movie, they have no idea what to do because their souls are still out of whack.
Yeah.
And so he is just that representation going off into the water. And the good and evil happens on the shore, and they just end up killing each
They
other.
kill each other, and he's like just drifting off, and just
It's fine that I know this.
It
I was
is
even
so
like-
counter to anything that
I was like, oh, it just
Leon
ends?
has ever done. Yeah.
I was like, oh, it just ends like this. Okay, that's wild. But yeah.
Well, it just makes you wonder with him, right? William Blake is essentially like this is what happens when you get sucked in to this genre. Like he's literally getting sucked into the Western genre. And what is the Western genre doing to him, right? And there's a sense where he gets the pistols, he paints, right? He like embraces this new identity. That there is like this weird metaphysical journey that he's going on. And then what does he do with that? He almost like goes into the story in order to cleanse the story.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who makes it out alive.
Yeah.
Well, but it's weird because he makes it out alive, but ironically he's dying.
Yeah,
right?
we don't know what
so
happens
it's
to
like,
him.
but
He could have just died out in the water, to be honest.
well, I'm assuming he's gonna die out in the water, right?
Yeah.
He says something when he kills Doc Ock. Doc Ock was like,
Oh, but this is my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
by the
this
way.
is a really
favorite
good
scene.
scene. This is
hands
awesome.
down.
And Doc Ock being racist.
yeah, he's a crooked evangelist. Like he's just promoting God and everything. And
He's like, we're not going to sell to
Can
the
I
Indians.
get your autograph? Oh man.
but he says go to hell or something, or
Yeah.
let God burn your soul in hell.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp goes, he already has.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and he kills him. As soon as he enters into the Western story, that was really cool, Derek.
Yeah. This is a cool movie. I appreciate it.
It was really fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I was like Western. I was like, I've seen the good, the bad, and ugly. I was like, let's just throw Dead Man in there.
Yeah.
I almost didn't know if that was the appropriate movie because I almost did the 2013 one. There was a new one. And I was like, no, yeah, not of this.
It's not a remake.
Yeah, it's
just
not a remake.
different
It's just a
title.
different title.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I don't think this is the one Nick is talking about. I think it's the one.
No, not weird enough.
I almost
The
called
moment
you.
I saw-
I almost called you at 10 o'clock at night, and be like, Nick, is this the right one?
No.
The moment I saw Johnny Depp and Criterion Channel, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's gotta be it.
Yeah.
That's Nick.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a good one. And right alongside Dead Man, a couple years earlier is when we have Tombstone. And so that's Jason's pick there. So, Jason, I'd love
all
for you.
y'all watch Tombstone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoil away.
Okay, bet. It's good. Good movie.
Nope, you're cut off.
That was
Django.
good. Yeah, that was
Django's
great.
next.
I-
You lost it.
Django next. Sorry, man.
I think this is probably the first Western movie that I decided to watch and sit down and say, okay, I'm going to see this. I don't even know, who did I watch it with? I can't remember if I watched it with Dave Darling or with someone else. I don't remember.
Damn, put his whole identity out there.
But it's, not an older Western. Like I said, my dad would watch them and I go, I don't know. But this one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked it. And then watching it again, it's cool to see how it's, about a lawman who retired. And he said, you know what, I did all that. I'm done. All I want to do is go to this town and spend my time with family, make it rich, live a good life, and then that's it. And he goes to this town. His brothers and their wives are there with him and his wife. And his friend, Doc Holliday, ends up coming into the town too.
Yeah.
Who I love.
Doc Holliday is my favorite character in this film.
Holiday, bro.
This one,
Kilmer.
Yeah.
yeah, it's Val Kilmer. At first, the first time I watched it, I liked him because of, just he's a really skilled gunslinger. He's just funny and he's cool, but he is actually, and it says it, he's just like Johnny Ringo, except like he's swayed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and he's got tuberculosis also, which is interesting, but he's got a real vulnerability that he has to work through, right? Kurt Russell's kind of the badass who just takes no crap from anyone, right? Like I'm never worried about him, but I love that you put a character like Doc Holliday in there that has a real sense of, wow, this is a really fascinating character, but
And he was the one that lasted longer than like White and stuff like
he
that.
lasted longer than most
It's
of them.
funny
Yeah.
because like Nancy and I watched this movie together.
Yeah.
She liked it and she was just like, as soon as she saw Doc Holliday, she was like, oh, so something wrong with him. He dying. And then throughout the movie, it's like, oh, he's dead. He's really dying.
Yeah, like
so-
especially when he's drinking and he's just got all the pink around his eyes and all the sweat. But his intelligence to me and his like learning was really good. He's speaking Latin, the way that he's just smarter than everyone, just in the way he converses. When he gets mad because the guy like, oh, that's Camptown Racers, and he goes, it's Frederick effing Chopin.
Yeah, I love
this
that.
is a nocturne.
I even think like mathematically, like even knowing how to play the cards, like that just shows his sense of intelligence too, because it doesn't show that he's cheating.
No, he won like 5 hands in a row.
Yeah,
He's just smart, but yet he is also aimless.
Yeah.
He is just kind of, partying his life away. He's with his girl Kate, he's gambling, killing, going from one place to the next. But my favorite line out of this whole movie from him was when the OK Corral scene's about to start, and Wyatt Earp says, "Why are you here? You don't have any business in this." And Doc turns to him, and he's like hurt, and he goes, "That's a hell of a thing for you to say to me." And later, he's like, "Doc, why are you still here?" When the 3 guys had joined him and Wyatt, and he goes, "Wyatt's my friend."
Yeah.
And he's like, I got I got a lot of friends. He goes, "I don't."
yeah.
And so, and their friendship when he's sick in the bed, and Wyatt gives the book to him.
Man.
It's just, I think that strong friendship is what kept him from being Johnny Ringo. Because Johnny Ringo is just a mad, aimless, wild dog who's intelligent and learned just like him.
Yeah.
Well, so they draw the lines with the morality. It's usually the first scene where they draw these lines, right? The first couple scenes. So you have the cowboys that invade this wedding, right?
Yes.
Another movie that started off with a wedding. That's what I put too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. But Johnny Ringo takes it a step further. He kills the priest, which that's another crossing the line, right? In those
I forget
westerns.
what color Bill Johnson is. That the other cowboy's name? Like the I think he was the one in the red shirt. And in the beginning, like the other
I
main,
think so.
Curly Bill?
Yeah,
Curly Bill. Yeah,
Curly Bill. Even he looked at him after like he shot the priest and was like, "Oh."
Well, Johnny Ringo is such a fascinating character because there's a lot of biblical allusions in this film, and there seems to be like some sort of hint that Johnny Ringo has sold his soul to the devil in a way, right? Because he says that where they do the play. Remember in the theater?
Yeah.
And Johnny Ringo's like, I already done that. Like I did that, So Johnny
goes, "Oh, how very informative."
Yeah. I mean, Johnny Ringo really embodies, like, he's almost the force of chaos because even when Curly Bill and a lot of these guys get taken out, the Cowboys are sustained. I think Johnny Ringo is that. He's almost like a force that kind of is pushing the Cowboys further and further more away from morality and law. And he does this in really subtle ways. And so that's why, like, I started realizing watching it, like, oh yeah, this final confrontation, it has to be with him. He has to be the one that's taken out. Now it's interesting because Doc Holliday and Wyatt have this whole conversation in the bed, right? Where Doc Holliday's telling Wyatt, yeah, you're not going to win this.
Yeah.
So Doc Holliday goes in his place.
Yeah.
And
without telling Wyatt.
Wyatt
went anyways.
Right. But Doc Holliday goes and he's the one who defeats Johnny Ringo. But of course, the cost is that exacerbates his tuberculosis to where he's going to die, right? The final bed scene on his deathbed, right? Where he's basically telling Wyatt, like, go get what you want. So the way we were texting about this, I kind of understood. Yeah, you're smiling.
I'm smiling because I don't remember us texting about it. But I remember when you talked about it.
So, like, I was trying to think about what does Doc Holliday represent? What does he come to represent in this movie, right? And I'm like, okay, he kills the force of chaos. So that, because then once Johnny Ringo's out, all the other Cowboys are taken out, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because the ending of this movie bothered me at first because I'm like, this is weird. Why does Wyatt, like, get to just go and
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Like, why does he just get to go be with this girl and everything all works out for him in the end, right? But then I realized, like, oh my gosh, Doc Holliday kills the chaos of the West so that Wyatt, who's wanted to live this kind of normal life in a sense, right? So that he can no longer be bound to it. Because as long as the chaos, like, exists, he will he'll get roped back into it.
Mm-hmm.
But by defeating Johnny Ringo, which Wyatt again would have lost, he would have died. They make that clear. Wyatt now can live free of the West.
Yeah.
And he can live a life away from that. So it's almost this weird like sacrificial motif that like I kind of took there.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting is Wyatt is just as aimless. Like he doesn't actually know what he wants.
He doesn't know what he wants. Yeah.
And I had to like throw this down because one, I was getting mad because I'm like, bro, you're married. What are you doing? And I feel like still I wasn't sure if even that was exactly what he wanted, but it was different than what he had.
Yeah.
And it represented a yearning after something else. It was freedom. It was just go and do whatever. And that's kind of what is a little bit represented in all the themes of the West dying, is things becoming civilized.
Right.
The lines aren't going to be blurred anymore. They're going to be set in stone.
Yeah.
And there's almost a running away from the law because there is a law, but it's set by a character. It's really set by the strongest character or the most determined. And
I would even say that the older brother sets that law then, because he's the one that's like morally, I just can't stand by and keep watching this. He's like, I didn't bring us here to get involved, like, but you did because
you got us involved when you brought us here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when they're like, you're not going to get him over a misdemeanor, are you? And he goes, of course I am. It's the law is the law. That was just like, he was probably sets like the highest point of that moral law.
Yeah.
But Wyatt, he really doesn't know what he wants, and he goes back. Like his sense for, one, it starts with, okay, I'm here for my family, my brothers, and then it becomes vengeance, and also I have to get rid of this. He kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I love
so
the
it's
scene.
still. I feel like it's still great with him.
Love the scene where his brother's dying in the saloon or whatever, and he walks out, and literally the blood's on his hands, right? And he's holding them up there, and you're just like,
And then both women can't come out, man.
His wife doesn't even go and embrace him
because she saw that he was looking at old homegirl.
Oh yeah, no, that's true too. Yeah, he went to her first, but he was not good to Maddie at all.
Yeah,
he kind of sucked with that. And I think she died, right? It said that I saw that somewhere.
well,
it says at the end that she died.
Like shortly after she left.
well, there's the opium, right? Yeah, that's kind of looming in the background of this film as well.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that really like I didn't know until I was looking it up as I was watching it. Tombstone's a true story.
Yeah, it is.
I've been to
I thought
the
that was really
Arizona spot of Tombstone.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
What, I think it is, but I'm not sure. Was him running across the water and not getting shot at all? Like that was real too. That moment where he runs across the water and shoots Curly Bill.
I think that. Yeah, I
It's
know
that
so.
or exaggerate. It's exaggerated.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know either,
Or it's
but
the hand
they
of
made it
God.
a point to put that in. But I think Wyatt Earp never got shot, like in his life,
I would have to.
which
look
is
back over it,
crazy.
Yeah, it's a cool story. It's a cool film.
And I like the element of history. I thought like is really cool. And back in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it was the Civil War. The Civil War was a huge part of it. And it was just like, okay, whose side are you on? Is it going to be a friend or a foe? Anyone you walk up to.
Yeah.
And even they're like wearing the Confederate coats and they're pretending to be on the Confederate side. And then they see, are they blue or are they gray? Oh, they're gray. Yeah. Long live the Confederacy. Long live General, what's his name? Lee. Long live General Lee. And they all come up and they're just a bunch of Union soldiers that are all covered in dust. And they're like,
you know what?
Put them in jail.
I was just thinking of this as you guys were talking. You know what would be really fascinating is to take like these films, take like 10 Westerns and put them chronologically, not when they were made, but when they took place in history, right? And kind of see like, because there's Westerns that are at the beginning of the period, right? In the middle. And then you get to like the very end, Once Upon a Time in the West. You end with that and you end with like literally the West starting over at the end of that movie with Jill, right? But that would be really fascinating to see like how the West changed. Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a dope idea. I didn't even think about that. That's cool. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Tombstone before we go to our main event?
I can't remember it.
I do want to bring up one topic that's in this, but it's also in a lot of them that I kind of saw in a video about Once Upon a Time. And it was about like the gaze, as it's called, or
yeah.
the look. And in Once Upon a Time in the West, they use the characters' gazes to either like misdirect or direct the audience to what's important, what's happening.
Yeah.
And also in the showdown, and also just in characters in general, you can see that one is clearly stronger than the other. One is more focused. Harmonica never breaks his focus.
You know, he doesn't blink. I remember his eyes, the close-up shot of his eyes.
It's just this.
Yeah.
And it felt like 20 seconds was just on his face for the whole time. It was so long.
Sergio Leone loves his close-ups.
Yeah.
He loves his faces.
And for Frank, he looks away for a little bit. Like he almost is like, you can almost see like he's asking questions in his mind. Like he's still trying to figure out, and Harmonica's just dead set on one thing. And then you look between Wyatt and the bad dealer in the poker place. He goes, "Oh, you're scared. I can see it in your eyes." And he kind of backs him down and just starts hitting him.
Yeah. Bro,
Like,
I was like,
"Are you gonna do anything? You just gonna stand there and bleed?"
Jason and I were talking about this at work. I was like, some grown man let another grown man slap him multiple times, bro. It would have been bang bang. As soon as I got that first slap,
Well,
bang.
even Wyatt's like, "Do it, pull the gun,
Yeah.
let's see what happens." And the theme that I wanted to touch on is showing external weakness gets punished.
Yeah.
In all the westerns, you see Wobbles, the big dude that Harmonica ties his tie into the thing.
Wobbles.
And
Yeah.
starts, Wobbles, he dies. But just
That's
when,
one of my favorite moments is when Frank is like, no man should wear a belt and suspenders.
Yeah.
And then when he goes to
He
kill
can't
him,
even trust
he
his pants.
shoots the suspenders off and the belt. I'm like, gosh, this movie's cool.
But the thing was, like, you see Ike Clanton in Tombstone, who is beyond cowardly,
Bro.
and you see like other characters that get like back down easily, and you can tell who's gonna win or lose a situation based on the gaze, based on like the intensity and the focus, and who wants it more.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You can see that in Doc Holliday versus Ringo, and it's funny because when both don't back down, that's when something happens. When one backs down, then it's either completely conquered and vanquished immediately, or it's the fight doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's because what starts the fight at the OK Corral?
It's the wink. It's Doc Holliday
It's
winking.
literally just Doc Holliday staring at another dude, and he just goes, and the guy goes from this to, and Wyatt Earp sees it, and he just goes, "Oh my god!" And they just start shooting each other.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a cool thing, and
that is cool.
if I don't know if that's so much of a thing in Dead Man.
No, Dead Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Dead Man is telling a whole different story.
There was no gazes in Dead Man. There was
just Johnny Depp looking into the camera.
A lot.
Oh no, he does
Not
the
know
camera
what to-
look.
No, he doesn't, but the camera's in his face and he's just lost the whole time.
I just don't know what to do.
It's the cleansing gaze. But before you were speaking, I was thinking about the male like archetype in the Western and how they're like this super bravado, super strong.
Yeah.
But they're all like just really broken. And
Yeah.
at the end,
Yeah.
it's like a deeply existential, like, what are we supposed to do with this life? And who are we? And then I was thinking about how the first genre that we chose to explore as humans is the Western and really just man's broken state.
In film, yeah, that is really
And
fascinating.
as you're saying, I was going the other way in my head because you're right. But then the other side is when you show external weakness, you get killed. But their lack of showing their internal weakness is destroying the society.
Well, that's in Tombstone,
Yeah.
and that's in Johnny Ringo, because Wyatt's asking Doc, like, what makes Johnny Ringo Johnny Ringo? Like, who is he? And goes, see, a man like Johnny Ringo got a big gaping hole in his heart right here, and ain't no amount of killing or stealing or anything's gonna fill it.
Right.
And he just keeps going. And Doc Holliday is saying that because that's
him.
exactly who he is.
That's him.
Because he tried to fill it with drinking, with Kate, with smoking, gambling, killing, his skill, like intelligence. Like, he's at the height of all these things to fill that. And he's just broken inside, and he tells Wyatt, just live. Like, just please, if you're my friend, you will leave me now. And you will not stay here, and you just go live.
Yeah. What was the book what was the title of the book after he gave
My
to?
Friend Doc Holliday.
Yeah. That's when I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that's showing external weakness.
Yeah.
Because that's the vulnerability of you're my friend and I care about you and here's a book. And then I think it's funny, that's right after that, he looks at his feet and goes, and I don't know if they stop moving or something, he goes, that's funny. He doesn't even get to open the book. He dies before he can read it.
Dang, I didn't even realize that till you said, oh, I'm about to cry again. No.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there's two more things I want to talk about because they're important. I don't want to miss them. One is when the actor, man, is talking to the actress about Wyatt Earp, and he's describing, like, this man is both predator and prey. His eyes are closed by the sun, and just going off of that. And I thought that's really cool because on the outward, he has to be the predator. He has to survive, but he's also chased down. He's also vulnerable. He almost died. His family was almost killed. Like, he's still just a man. And then it's when she and the foreign actor are in the carriage and he's dead. And the guy who was, like, hanging with the cowboys, like the nerdy kind of guy with the glasses, he goes, what happened? And she said that he got killed because someone tried to steal her purse.
Beauty into your world.
He tried to bring something beautiful and wonderful into your world, and you hated it, and you killed him.
Yeah. Jesus.
And it's just chaos. It's just like he was kind. He just wanted to show stuff. And when he got shot at, he didn't stop. Yeah. But it's just the chaos saw this thing that was good and just said, nope. Yeah. That can't survive.
I do love the fact that all those type of cowboys were literally just rowdy at first, watching a play, and then as soon as he started talking, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I ain't never experienced nothing like this before." It's just so random to see, like, dirty cowboys really watching some Shakespearean actor and enjoying it.
It's because he didn't move when they shot at him.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, hang on.
They respected him after that.
All right, y'all. Let's get to the main event.
Everybody's in this movie.
Everybody's in this main event.
Everybody.
Joe, actually, it's just Joe. Joe's the main event.
Joe is the main event. All right, Joe.
Today, Joe's the main character.
I'm the main character.
Django Unchained.
Not the fan
Take it away.
We should just spend the next 20 minutes of you quoting lines. That's all we got to do for Django. There's no real deep discussion in this movie. Just
okay, hang on. That's
because I'm down to just watch this for the next 20 minutes.
Listen. That's not entirely
Very
true.
quotable film, though.
It is very quotable.
What's all those quotation marks on your notes?
Listen, that was for Tombstone more than anything.
Gosh.
Wow.
Listen,
Joe came to work today.
I ain't
Joe's
even
prepped.
what you believe. I believe. Oh my gosh. Oh, I do.
All right,
okay.
Joe.
So I do love this movie, Django.
Is it your favorite movie?
I won't say it's my favorite movie. I think my favorite movie is not what we're talking about today. I think
Isn't your mom's favorite this one?
No, Logan is her favorite one,
okay.
which is also a type of Western. Yeah.
Oh, no one picked Logan. Go ahead.
Don't worry.
So-
we'll get to it.
I would say the first thing I'm gonna say is Django is one of the most accurate representations of, like, how slavery is portrayed in film, and you got to change my mind about that because I just think it is. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say first. But second, I know it's just like this. I know Quentin Tarantino is that over the top type of director. However, I think he's telling a story that he may not even know that he's telling. So
Okay,
Joe.
okay. So all right, let me tell you why I connected with this. So Django can show some of the struggles as a black man in America. You know, I don't give up. You know, I don't really talk about this time. I don't really use this card whole often. But watching it again, I was like, oh wait, hold on.
You're gonna use that card a lot more often now?
I was like, well, maybe. I see if it gets me places. But this is a man who's born into a world that is systematically set to put him down, the African male.
right.
Honestly, someone who is shows more intelligence than his white counterparts. There's a whole lot of when he's going back down to the South, going to what's it called, Candyland, you see like the white workers that are hunting down the what's it called, the ones that ran away, the slaves that ran away, and things like that. Even El Candy.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite scenes is when Django speaks French to Candy.
Even
I love
Michel
it.
Candy.
Now don't speak French to him.
He doesn't even really speak French. So it's just like there's these like when he was wearing when the bodyguard to El Candy was wearing the hat inside, he's like you don't wear a hat in the house of white man, even I know that. So it's just like even though he grew up in a place where he was designed to fail, he still succeeded in that. He was a very good sharpshooter. He was very talented. He was able to climb up the ladder in the sense, but he had to give a piece of himself. He had to give away his true identity. He had to be something that he didn't want to be. This is a black slaver. He had to perform in, let's say, the white man's world to survive in this world and give up himself. He had to sacrifice literally how he he had to change how he, like, his morals and his beliefs. When he was hesitating to kill the father, the only reason why he had to, like, he killed the father and proceeded with his life was to get, like, the American dream, freedom and the right to choose who you love. He chose who he loved, but because of the system that was set up, it's taken away from him. His freedom, he doesn't have real freedom. Even when I forget his name, but the German guy that helped him, he was still
Christoph Waltz's character.
He wasn't even truly free in that because he was still being used. He was still being used to, like, by him. He was still being used by him to get his own goals. So it's either or. He has to give a piece of himself to actually survive in this world because it's designed to put him back or to keep him back from success. So that's what I got from it, the second viewing. But I do love the fact.
Second viewing?
Well, like viewing it for this. For this. I've watched this movie probably about like 50 times in like a day.
You watched this movie twice just for this one?
I probably watched this movie about 50 times in a day, but I do just love it all. Even with Steven, the person, like the other stereotype of the person, the black person that had to meld in this world.
Oh, the Uncle Tom?
Yeah, the Uncle Tom, who literally...
Samuel L. Jackson.
I love Samuel L. Jackson in that role. Now, if you want to burn the sheets and see it in the whole dang thing, we're going to do that.
He's one of the smartest ones, too.
He is.
Yeah, he was on his A game.
Ones. Yeah, but he had to dumb himself down to fit in, but he's still the second-hand person, and he had to get, like, it's either him or, like, it's either he cares about himself or he cares about others, and he fails and he dies.
Well, it's like that conversation where he pulls Calvin Candy into the study.
Yeah.
And they're like...
He was the one that figured out the plan.
He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And, like, Calvin Candy is just...
Oblivious
to
He's like,
it.
but, why would they buy a one with a
Mandingo.
beat up back? Yeah, why would they get a girl with a beat up back? Them, they ain't here for no mandingos. They here for that girl.
Keep going, Joe. I know you know it. Keep going. Just keep doing it.
We're here for this.
Oh my gosh. But no.
Finish the quote.
Finish the scene.
Finish the whole scene.
Finish the movie.
What would be my favorite scene in that movie? I don't even think it's that. I think when we're first introduced with the dynamic of Django, and I keep forgetting his name, the German guy again.
Hans Landa.
Yeah, Hans. Is it Hans?
That's from Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, good.
That's all that character's good for. He's just a replica.
I was like, hang on, that doesn't sound right.
And a worse one.
But
whoa, ouch.
Oh, the
Dr.
worst.
Schultz.
Dr. Schultz.
You like Dr. Schultz in that movie?
So I think his role in the movie is fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I mean, first of all, Christoph Waltz is a great actor.
Yeah.
So the fact that he got to play like a good guy after playing like one of the greatest villains right?
Yeah.
That just goes that just goes to show how talented he is.
Yeah.
But also what I think is really fascinating about him as a character is that he takes Django under his wing, right? And he's able to see Django as a freed man. And he's very smart and calculated. But his vulnerability really comes out with Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
Because there
He's
is
seen to-
something.
He's shown to a whole new level of evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And watching him try to stay in character.
Yeah.
That's my favorite stuff with him in the movie is like, how is he going to put up? Oh, no.
No, go. I just
Maybe Nick and I will face off.
No.
after all.
So the end when he kills Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
You enjoyed that scene? That scene to me didn't make a lot of sense. It kind of just
He jeopardized everything.
for no reason. They
Yeah.
won. They
Yeah.
won, and he's like, you know what? Let me shake your hand. And then they talk about shaking their hand for the next 5 minutes, and I'm like, this scene really bothered me. That was like him trying to be like Once Upon a Time in the West, and it just didn't work. The thing with Tarantino is he talks more. He tells more than he shows a
Yes,
lot.
yes.
So the way this story is told, I thought it was weaker for him in some of his other movies.
Yeah.
But they won, and he's like, you know what? Let me shake your hand. And then he kills him for no reason, and then it all breaks loose after that.
Like he could not bring himself to shake hands with evil. Like he
like-
couldn't even touch him.
He looks at the guy who he's taken under his wing, and he goes, "Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
I just jeopardized you and your wife.
Well, that's
my bad."
But that's his flaw.
And
That's
I'm
right.
bad.
That's like his flaw is you've seen him do so many things throughout this film, calm, cool, and collected. But there is something about Candy and Candyland and all that it represents that he loses it.
I think
You know?
when he really started to lose it when he watched Candy send like his people to like tear that guy apart. Like
Yes.
to,
Oh, with the
yeah,
dog.
with
The dog,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Yeah, that was.
yeah.
Well, and so like there's this weird idea of like shaking hands. Like, what does it mean, right? Like, why does he want to shake his hand so badly? It's this little power struggle that because Candy knows he's been duped at this point.
Yeah.
But he's almost putting it out there because it tells Dr. Schultz, I'm still in charge. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter that you object to everything about me. At the end of the day, I have the power.
Yeah.
And this is a character who has been in control the entire movie. And so
And I will
Candy,
remain.
Candy realizes that about him and turns it against him.
Schultz is just as bad as Candy.
Would you like some white cake?
So, but of course we have to talk about Candy because Nick, what is your opinion on
That Leonardo DiCaprio just screams his lines. He doesn't act. He just yells.
You put your gun to that counter right this
He
instant.
just yells. I know he cut his hand on the skull and he kept the scene going, and that's a good scene.
That was one of the good. That was one of the good performances.
But when
in
his
that part.
voice screeches because he's yelling so loud, like it does in every movie he's ever played in since he was 14, it just bothers me. I'm sorry.
No, I kind of want to go through all the movies and just be like, "That's the scene where you just scream." That's
That'd be
his
some
screaming.
montage on YouTube of him screaming
Oh my
his
gosh.
lines.
That's it.
So you don't think he's good in this movie?
I think he's okay. That's it.
Who do you think gives the best performance in this movie?
Samuel L. Jackson.
It's all because Samuel Jackson. There was something I read that when they were filming it, Leonardo DiCaprio had a hard time saying the N word, and Samuel Jackson took him to the side. He was like, "Hey, listen, MFA, we just here to get a check. I don't care. Go ahead and call me. It's whatever. All right,
say it.
Yeah, just say it."
Who sent the interview with Samuel L. Jackson saying, "Well, that was you"?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever said it?
I've seen
I'm not answering the question until you say
that,
it.
yeah. He bullied that guy.
Say it right now.
He's like, "But I can't say it. Why? Huh? It's just a word." But that he was trying to get that man canceled.
He was.
But yeah, I really do like Django. And plus, this like in was it Dead Man? Yeah, in Dead Man, there's not a whole lot of black cowboys that we get to have. That
the one gets shot in the head.
shot in the back of the head, bro. For saying F you. F me.
F you.
I was like, oh my gosh, he's dead. But yeah, even the fact that at the end, like he got to ride off, not into the sunset, he got to ride off into the night with his bride. Like a total reversal of just like what they normally do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that most Westerns that you see, they don't incorporate the slavery element, which is an element that's there in the time period, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that you wouldn't really do much with that. Tarantino made 2 Westerns, essentially. He made Django, and then he made The Hateful Eight right after, right?
Which I didn't like either.
Which
You didn't like that one either?
Which Hateful Eight, he gets Morricone to come score, and that's easily the best thing in that film is the score. But it's interesting, right? Because the Western is something that's so grounded in history, and it speaks to, as Americans, it speaks to part of our story, right? As a people. And lots of people want to tackle the Western because of what it's trying to say, not just in terms of history, but even in terms of humanity itself. When I think of Django and the very wonderful analysis that you gave earlier of it, right? Django is almost what I'm hearing it is like, it's like, well, what if a black man at this time came into the Western? Because that was not their story.
Yeah.
That was not the story they were in, but what if that happened? How would it play out?
And not
what
even
would it
him
look like,
seeking
right?
out that life found him, like literally how he was found at the beginning.
Right.
And then use that system to get what he wanted at the end of the day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Isn't Django an actual Western? Like,
It is an old, there is a classic Western called
like,
Django.
It's, I don't know, it's something, it involves the slave trade or just in the middle
I've
of
never
slave
seen it.
tensions,
Yeah.
but it's about a white dude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Tarantino just takes everything.
Well, yeah.
I like this title and this score, and I
Tarantino
like that
is
theme,
like
and-
Florida. Florida just takes all the names from every other place and uses it and says, "Yep, this is Florida."
No, Florida is like Mad Max Fury Road, even though I have not seen that movie.
You told me you did.
No, I haven't seen
Oh my
it.
gosh.
That's why I'm like, I want to watch that with you guys because I'm like,
Mad Max is good.
Mad Max Fury Road a Western?
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic Western?
I haven't seen it either. We can watch that.
yeah.
Mad Max is good.
I love the instant approval and then like her.
No, because he told me that. I've
thought-
known that for a long time.
my
And
bad.
then he's like, I've never seen it. I'm like, what?
Because you told me that about Florida. It's like,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
from
Mad
Joe.
Max out here. I didn't know it was from Joe.
I tell that to so many people. My friends from California, he's like, he just calls it Mad Max out here.
Because like I've only seen like glimpses and stuff of like Mad Max, so I get the concept of it, but I'm like, I feel like this is what Mad Max is out here. We're just riding quads on the streets.
That's
and things
right.
Like that.
Yeah, I think I don't know. This hasn't happened, but there's only one time I've seen traffic not slow down, but go to a complete halt, and that's because there was a gator attacking a guy like in a truck on the other side of the road,
Bro,
and I was just like, y'all are not slow, and you stopped. You parked your car to watch this.
that's Fury Road right there, man.
Joe, I have to ask you, when you moved to Florida, was one of the first thoughts I had was, this is a lawless land.
That's literally all I thought. So as I'm going on Tamarind, right?
Well, I mean, that's like.
That's the lawless land. But just in general, it's just
that
like
is.
I'm watching people literally not wear helmets
Yep,
on
yep,
things you should wear helmets on.
That was shocking to
Doing
me.
whole flips and skirts when it's just
Wheelies,
like,
yeah.
I'm just like, bro, I'm like, what are you guys doing out here? Everyone, you guys could just
No
die.
license plates.
Yeah, nothing out here. I was like, all right.
And there's 5 of you in the middle of the road, and you ran a red light
I'm
doing
like,
wheelies.
I can be do-rag man out here, man.
Guys, we need to make a film that's a Western set in Florida.
Oh, that would be good.
I thought about like we should do like some type of short Western
Oh,
film.
there's got to be a shootout has to happen in the Everglades, and then someone just falls into the swamp and disappears, and the other walks out.
Have an alligator. It's got to have an alligator in
Yeah.
it somewhere.
Alligator eats somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, drugs have to be
effects.
involved.
It's just literally just throw someone in there.
I think we
Throw a
got an
mannequin
idea
in
for
there.
this retreat. We're going to do a Florida Western. We're going to, think of all the Florida things we can.
We're gonna make a whole movie up there. We're gonna be doing a whole graphic design and stuff of it.
Oh, I love it. Well, any final thoughts on the Western as a genre before we wrap?
For me, I think what I really liked about this assignment, if you will, is that this is a genre that I really want to explore more and see like how the themes play out in other movies I like. One movie I
Absolutely.
didn't get to watch before this that I really wanted to was Rango. I love Rango.
Clint
Rango
Eastwood
would've been
is
fun
the
to talk
spirit of the
about.
West.
Yeah, which is funny because it's Johnny Depp too.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp is also lost and has no idea what's going on.
And
He's trying to figure it out.
also Mad Max.
Yeah.
Rango
Also
is like
Rango is-
a. Which one came first? I think Rango came first.
Yeah, it did.
Mad Max just
yeah,
rips
because we were
off
looking
Rango.
it up. We were like, this feels like Mad Max, but
Yeah.
Rango came first.
Like exact scenes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So Mad Max stole from Rango?
Yeah.
That is the greatest
So maybe
thing.
Mad Max is.
Well,
a
there's the
Western.
original Mad Max from decades ago, but
Yeah.
No, Fury Road though.
Fury Road.
Specifically, yeah.
Really? Well, Rango is, a guy who has really no place in the story, finding a place. And there's the concept of legends. There's the concept of business taking over
Yeah.
and stealing from the people
yeah.
and them having to fend for themselves.
Oh yeah,
Hired
Hired
outlaws.
guns, yeah.
it uses it all.
But
You
it's,
ain't got
it's-
the nerve. Try me.
Dude, Rattlesnake Jake was sick.
Rattlesnake, bro, that is
Yeah.
one of my favorite
It
films. I'm
was
not gonna lie.
cool.
Rattlesnake Jake was dope.
Yeah, and they just stole the tortoise dude at the end and
Yep.
the road. Oh, it's a really cool movie. It's super parodied, but it's making me want to go back to Logan, and just really explore the themes and how they relate. Because, and I want to see other good ones like The Searchers. I've heard.
Still got to see Unforgiven. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta finish the trilogy because I watched the first one of them, so I gotta see the others.
Yeah, you've seen the best one though.
Whatever. No, it is good. Good, bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You haven't seen it. You
Yeah, I
should
need
see
to
it.
watch it.
It's instantly fun.
Yeah.
If that wasn't touched on, I think one thing that I really liked is that in every single movie that I've seen, they start with defining evil first,
Yeah.
and they show this, and they say this is the chaos. There's the wedding being shot out by the cowboys. I instantly hated them.
Yeah.
Frank shooting the kids. I instantly hated him. And then there was
Interesting. Okay, with Django, then if we're going with that, then the villain is the America system during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah,
because
that's
literally
fair.
it starts off with slave owners about to go sell the people off, and they're fighting against what America has set up
Yeah.
during that time.
So then Candy
Yeah.
doesn't represent Candy. He represents the American
during-
system.
yeah.
during that time.
Yeah.
And so that's the bad. It's,
Yeah.
it's the concept.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah,
And it's always about Western is just F the system.
yeah, it is.
A little bit
Shoot up everybody, bang bang.
from both sides. But and then it was the good, the bad, and the ugly when Angel Eyes shoots a guy in his family.
Yeah.
But it really made me appreciate this genre. And I want to explore it more. But that's really all I got,
That's good.
partner.
Yeah, no, I've always loved like the idea of westerns, but going like into the deep dive, it's like learning that type of stuff. Like, oh yeah, they in the beginning, a lot of these westerns do set up what the antagonist is. Just like how in the definition you gave, it's these characters who are in this lawless land trying to set order, but they still do have a bit of a residue of like the West and that lawlessness. So they're trying to find themselves in that and still being lost in that and figuring out what they're going to do even after all this. So yeah, westerns are dope. They look
Nick?
good.
Nope. I'm on the boat floating in the water, taking this podcast with me.
Yeah.
It's over.
Well,
Wait, who gets shot at the end of this then?
oh gosh.
What?
I say who dies at the end of this?
Nick is
this one?
literally- Nick is
YouTube.
literally-
Yes,
YouTube. Yeah, I was sitting in front of the black hat and the white hat.
Yeah, and
floating off.
he's literally going to work after this
Yep.
and leaving, and we're just
gonna
going
be
to
like,
kill each other.
That's funny.
So I guess I'm the bad because I represent the white man.
Yes. You can quote me on. Let me stop. Let me not
Yeah.
get canceled on the podcast.
You're black, you'll be fine.
We don't have enough. We don't
That's
have
not
enough
Jason
listeners.
get canceled on the podcast. Hey, put this out there. Let the people hear.
All right. So yeah.
Shake my
so
hand,
just
Joe.
Bro, I hate that scene. It's like 5 minutes of shake my hand. No, shake my hand. No, why would I shake your hand? No, I insist.
You
no.
really
You want to
insist?
Shut up. I hate that.
Tarantino needs to make a cut.
Yeah, that one was tough.
All right. So yeah, the
funny.
Western. It's a way that we find meaning. I'm trying to bring it back.
Strict
It ain't coming
transition.
back. You've heard us for an hour and a half. Join us next month around Halloween time as we dive in to the horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Horror and thriller genres we will be back for that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. Check out allthingsnarrative.com if you want to learn more about what we do. And yeah, guys, so thank you so much once again. This is your friendly narrative practitioner, Derrick, signing off, saying let's go get some lunch. And until next time,
I tip my hat to you, one legend to another.
I insist.
Who is that?